And joining us now here in New York is the commander of U.S. Air Forces in Europe, commander of U.S. Air Forces in Africa, and NATO's Allied Air Command, General James Hecker. General, thanks for being with us this morning. I see your jurisdiction is about 19 million square miles. Do I have that number right?
I think that's pretty close.
Something like that. That's quite a jurisdiction. But let's talk about what's happening right now overnight, these attacks from the Russian military. What's your assessment of what's happening there? And what is the response of the United States? What is the response of NATO?
So this was another brutal attack by the Russia on the Ukraine. And as you can see, a lot of the targets are civilian infrastructure targets, which is routine and kind of what he's done for a while. Nature of this attack is a pretty large one. It's one that we haven't seen in approximately 2 to 3 weeks. So this is definitely something that we're looking hard at.
The Ukrainian Air Force, just in the last hour, sent out a message on social media saying simply, we need F-16s in response to this. They will help us to secure our skies, as they put it. Are you all taking a more serious look at offering F-16s, at offering fighter planes to the Ukrainian military?
We've always kind of taken a serious look if we're going to give F-16 fighter planes to the Ukraine. And as you know, the administration, at least for the time being, has decided against that. But what we're doing is taking care of more of the immediate need, more of what we just saw, which is one-way UAVs that come across, as well as cruise missiles that come across. So we're providing them surface-to-air missiles that can down a lot of those missiles, but unfortunately we do have some leakers that get through.
Do you find, General, that the will of the United States, but really the will of NATO countries in Western Europe, is as strong as it was, say, a year ago to support Ukraine? There are some dissenting voices in the Congress who want to step away from Ukraine, but by and large, Republicans and Democrats say we've got to stand with Ukraine in this war. Do you see that internationally as well?
I do see that. You know, of the 30 nations, they've come across one another, real strong, since the beginning of this, and now we're a year into it. And Secretary Austin, about a month ago, just called in a bunch of nations to Ramstein Air Force Base to talk about this. And 45 nations showed up. And of those 45 nations, they all continue and want to contribute to the Ukraine fight against the Russian.
So, General, can you give us just an update on the state of the skies over Ukraine, the battle there, which in terms of the aircraft that Ukraine has, using helicopters as well, but also what sort of weaponry Russia's using? These missiles, yes, but also what kind of fighter jets do they have, and what kind of drones are you seeing?
Yeah, a lot of the aircraft are similar because they used to be together a long time ago. So there's MiG-29s, MiG-27s on the Ukraine side, MiG-29s, MiG-27s that are on the Russian side. They also have some more advanced ones on the Russian side with Su-34s, Su-37s, and recently Su-57 aircraft. As far as their aircraft, largely because of the integrated air and missile defense that both sides have, both are pretty much staying on their side of the line, because if they cross into the other people's territories, they're getting shot down by surface-to-air missiles. And that's why we're seeing a lot of the one-way UAV drones used by the Russians, which we saw in the attack last night, as well as cruise missiles that are launched from their bomber jets.
General, that's quite a command you have, by the way. Thank you very much. I mean,
I'm very fortunate.
That's half the world, and dangerous parts of the world as well. But in Ukraine, the missile attacks and our assistance in helping to provide missile defense, incoming missile defense for Ukraine. You have any issues with inventory? This used to be called, this country, the arsenal of democracy. But now there are reports of, lack of the numbers of ammunition being able to be provided. Have you had any difficulties?
Yeah, we have, and really from the last meeting that Secretary Austin had at Ramstein, that was the number one priority. The number one priority to those 45 nations was we have to give the Ukrainians more capability to be able to shoot down not only their airplanes, but these one-way UAVs as well as the cruise missiles. Luckily, those 45 nations came through, and they gave, a vast amount of those kind of munitions to Ukraine, but they're shooting a lot of them. And I guarantee you they just shot a lot of them last night, so we need to keep them coming.
So, General, this international effort that you are leading in support of Ukraine comes at an interesting time for the United States Air Force. We've just left Afghanistan. What does the future, in your eyes, of the U.S. Air Force look like? What is the role of that branch of our military?
Well, it's still going to be deterrence. As you know, our pacing threat and our national defense strategy leans over and looks at China. So we're going to have a big presence still in China. But we can't obviously forget what's going on in Europe. And what we're going to have to do there and what we're doing is we're working heavily with our allies and partners. And good thing is NATO is close together. Those 30 nations are really close now. Hopefully we'll get up to 32, and those other two bring a lot to the fight that will help out. So we're really working hard with our allies and partners to continue the pressure on Russia.
Arguably as close as it's ever been, and as you say, growing right now. Commander of U.S. Air Forces in Europe and Africa, as well as NATO's Allied Air Command, General James Hecker. General, thanks so much for being here, and thanks for your service to the country.
Well, thank you,
Appreciate
and thanks
it.
for the opportunity.
Thank you, General.